Hello, and welcome back to my video podcast. I'm Keith R. Rees, and this is episode 8 of the video podcast that so far very few people have been watching. But I'm going to keep doing them until I've got all my books introduced, and then when we're done with that, I'm going to revisit my current novel that's been out for about 5 months now, One Night in Bangkok. So we'll cover that one more in depth so we can gather some more interest on that book. But I've finished with the novels that I've written over the years and introducing them, but I've also written a couple collections of poetry. And there are 2 books that are out there that you can buy or download on an ebook or buy in a paperback. Poetry that I've written, and that's how I started out writing back in 1995, was poetry. And I wrote poetry for about 12 years, and that's when I decided I got a little bored with it and got tired. Thought I'd gone as far as I can go with poetry, and that's when I wanted to try my hand at writing novels, writing stories, and that's how Legend Upon the Came about back in 2007. And in that year, that happened to be the 50th anniversary for my parents, as they were married back in 1957. And I put the first book of poetry together as a gift for them on their anniversary. And I will be discussing that in the next episode, but this one I'm kind of going back in chronological order. In 2014, I did put out a second collection of poetry, and from 2007 on until then, I had done a lot of traveling when I was married and on my own. And as I traveled, I liked to write poetry about where I was. It's very inspiring when you go to different places, different countries, or islands in the Caribbean or the Hawaiian Islands, and even areas here in our own country in the United States. And I like to write about where I was and how it inspired me. And so I decided to do a collection of travel poetry, and that's this week's book. It's this collection called The Hana Sun Does Shine. And Hana refers to a little town on the eastern shores of the island of Maui in Hawaii. And people who have been out there know the famous Hana Highway. It's not exactly a highway. It is, but it's got little twists and turns and switchbacks, and you can go on for about 30 miles driving on this road that switches back and forth along the zigzags along the coastline of Maui. It's an impressive drive, but it's a tough drive, especially if you're the one doing it. But if you get to ride, you get to see all the fantastic views along that part of Maui, and if you get lucky, you also get to see some really spectacular waterfalls. So that's the background of the title, and is also the first poem in the book is the same title, The Hana Sun Does Shine. And the reason I chose that particular title is it rains quite a bit on that side of Maui. It's called the windward side, and every time it seemed like I was in Hana, it was raining. But one particular time the sun did come out while we were over there, and went to the black sand beach and the red sand beach, and saw some just spectacular places. And every now and then the sun does shine in Hana, so that's where the title came from. But at the end of every poem, it gives you a location of where I was when, or what location inspired that particular poem. Say like this one here is called Red Ixora. That is a flower on the island of St. Lucia. So that's where that poem was inspired. And so at the end of every poem, it'll tell you where it's located. And at the end of the book, I go into a lot of detail about the poems themselves and give you a little bit more background and description. It's a short book. It's about maybe 78, 80 pages. And I don't know how many poems are in here, but it's probably around 30 or 40. And there's romance, adventure, a little storytelling inside each poem. Well, not each poem, but some of the poems. And if you need something to read at night and something to put you to sleep, something to relax you and calm you, or even a good book to take on your own vacations, just to have something to read if you're relaxing on the deck of a ship or on an airplane, or just sitting at a vacation home and needed something to read. This is a good book to buy, and it's the least expensive one that I have. I think it's $9 something for paperback, and ebook is around $1.99, I think. It might even be less. I'm sorry, I don't know the prices exactly, but they're all very affordable. And if you enjoy poetry, the Hana Sun Does Shine is a good read, and people have bought it before and have given me lots of good compliments on it, and I think everyone would enjoy it. So take a look at the Hana Sun Does Shine, Travel Poems by Keith R. Rees. And that concludes this week's episode 8 of my video podcast. So keep on reading and enjoy the holidays. And until then, I'll see you then, and have a good night.